Hi, I'm Vanessa Nelson, President of Expert Human Resources, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to conduct an HR audit in 7 simple steps. And I'm going to attempt to tell you in 7 minutes. Okay, first of all, the reason we conduct HR audits is to make sure we're as efficient as possible and that we're operating at an optimal level. And also, we want to avoid those nasty lawsuits and those non compliance fees and penalties which are on the rise and they're increasing every year. So we want to avoid that. And lastly, because we are so busy with our day to day operations, the management teams of most organizations are so busy that oftentimes issues underneath the surface can be simmering. So we want to make sure none of those things are happening and that we are operating efficiently. So let's start with step number one. Step number one is the organization. The first thing we want to do is take a look at the organization. And by that, I mean we want to look at the mission, we want to look at the vision, we want to look at the values, we want to talk to managers, we want to talk to permanent employees, we want to ask them what's going well, what issues are you dealing with, what things could we be doing better. We also want to look at our policies and procedures. We want to make sure that they are aligned to our mission and goals because we want to make sure we are heading in the right direction and we want to make sure we're doing the proper things to get us there. Step number two is we're going to look at our hiring process. Now, this is a big step because many lawsuits happen in the hiring process. So we want to make sure our job descriptions are up to date and aligned to the actual job duties, our job profiles, and job descriptions. Number two, we want to make sure our I-9s are compliant. We make sure that we're filling them out, making sure that people are authorized to work here in the United States. We want to look at our application to make sure it's appropriate, our orientation program. Do we have an onboarding program to make sure people, when they come, that they have the tools they need to do their jobs? We want to make sure we have everything in the hiring process appropriate, down to your interviews. We want to make sure your interview questions are legal, and we want to make sure that your job offer letter is appropriate. So you want to look at everything in your hiring process to make sure we're doing everything to match with our mission. Number three is your compensation and benefits. You want to make sure your compensation and benefits are correct because paying people is very important, paying people appropriately. So you want to make sure that you have a pay plan, a compensation plan that is within market so that you're competitive, because you don't want to have someone across the street doing the same type of business as you paying $10 more and getting the quality employees, and then you're having problems. So you want to make sure you're competitive because oftentimes I run into clients, they want to just pick and choose what they pay. That's not a good idea, and it can cause you problems in the long run with inconsistent pay practices. You also want to make sure you follow the Equal Pay Act and that you're paying different genders the same for jobs that are the same. And you want to make sure that your hourly employees are paid appropriately. Your exempt employees are actually really exempt, first of all, and make sure that you're not taking money, deducting money from their paychecks inappropriately, because that can also be a big problem. So you want to really take a look at your compensation plan and benefits. You look at your time off plan, make sure you're competitive, make sure your benefits align to what your employees need. You know, if you need to get a broker in there to help you out with that, to determine if your plans are appropriate with your mission and what your staff actually utilizes, then you want to make sure you do that. Next step, number 4, employee development and relations. Do you have a performance evaluation plan that aligns with the jobs and aligns with the employees? Do you have you checked into employees' training? Do they need training? Do they have the tools they need to do their jobs? Have you checked into the relations part as far as if they have an issue with harassment, sexual harassment, or bullying, or if they have an issue with their coworkers been drinking, they smell alcohol on their breath, any of those type of things? Do you have a complaint process for people? Do you have an open door policy? You want to make sure you have all those things available so it's easy for employees to access the complaint processes and to be able to talk to you about issues, because this can solve a lot of problem before they become unmanageable. And also, you want to make sure you have a retaliation policy. That way, the employees will know that if they do have a problem, they won't be retaliated for bringing it to you. So you want to make sure that these policies are communicated to your employees. So that's your employee relations and employee development. The next step is number 5 is safety. And you want to make sure employees are aware of the safety program, that you're doing things to make sure they're safe. Make sure that employees know that if they have an injury, that they need to report it to you right away. Or if someone else is injured, they need to report that. Make sure people know of all your safety policies, as far as don't stand on a chair to change a light bulb, don't touch frayed lines, all those different things you want to make sure your employees know about safety. Number 6 is record keeping. Make sure you're keeping your records appropriately. Make sure your disciplinary process and your paperwork for your disciplines are consistent, and that you cover everything you need on your disciplinary action forms. The other thing is your personnel files. Make sure your personnel files are appropriate. Make sure there's not illegal things in there, like your medical information. Employees' medical information should not be in their personnel file. It should be in a separate locked area with people with a need-to-know basis to access that information. Make sure you're looking at the record-keeping guidelines, because you don't want to keep records too long, because if you have them, you may have to use them in court. So you want to make sure you get rid of records when you don't need them, and you do hold on to them when you need them. So that's your record keeping. Number 7, analysis. You want to do your analysis. Okay, so you've gathered all your information, you've spoken to your employees, you have your policies and procedures, your mission, your organization chart. You've got all the things that you've gathered when you've conducted your HR audit. And another thing I want to mention is it's always a good idea to use checklists. And if you need checklists, you don't have any, you can go to my website. I have a free resource called HR Audit 7 Simple Steps. And you can download that free, and there are checklists in there, and all these steps we talked about today are in there. And my website is experthumanresources.com, experthumanresources.com. And you just go there and download this free resource, and then you conduct your HR audit. And after you've completed your analysis and things that you might find from your analysis, is say that you looked at the disciplinary action forms and you noticed this manager was disciplining employees differently than that manager for the same offense. Well, that's inconsistent application of policy. So you would want to put that down as one of the issues that you found. So you're going to find things like that. Now, when I've done audits, I've found everything from sexual harassment to bullying to theft. I mean, I've found all type of things. Inconsistent application of policies, I found all those things. And we were able to dodge a lot of bullets and save a lot of money for companies. And I want you to be able to do the same thing for you. So you can download that information, and after the checklist, after you've conducted your HR audit and you've done your analysis, then you can create a chart with risk levels like high, medium, low. So you want to put certain things in the high risk level, like misclassification might be high risk. You might have inconsistent application of policies as high risk. Or say you have an area where you have a lot of turnover, say in facilities management, but nowhere else, then there's an issue over there. So that might be a high risk. So you put your high risk, then you have a medium risk column where you might put, you need a policy for smoking. So that might be in your medium risk. And then your low risk area, you might have a suggestion box. Well, because you found out so much information from your HR audit that you might think a suggestion box is a good idea. So you would have that in your low risk. So then after you get all that done, you start tackling that high risk, knock those things out, and get your place efficient and working optimally. Another good resource is the book I wrote, 101 Costly HR Mistakes and How to Fix Them. You can get it on Amazon.com. And this book I wrote because I've conducted so many HR audits. I mean, tons of them. And I found a lot of common costly mistakes that I wanted to make sure everybody knew about. So pick this book up. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it on iTunes. You can get it on your Kindle. and happy auditing to you. Thank you.